Okay, let's unpack this. You know that feeling, right? Start of the season, you're in line for the physical.
Uh-huh, the PPE.
Yeah, the pre-participation examination.
Yeah.
Just kind of shuffling through stations, getting measured, hoping you pass so you don't miss day one.
It's such a key moment.
Exactly. So today, we're diving deep into that whole process,
Yep.
specifically the vital signs part of the PPE.
Right, the absolute core stuff. Our source material today is basically the instruction manual for the clinicians doing these checks. It lays out exactly how to get reliable vitals.
Yeah, forget just going through the motions. Our mission here is to give you the real blueprint, like the why behind all those specific steps,
So you actually understand what a good health baseline looks like.
and what those numbers are actually telling you about your body.
Yeah, it's not just ticking boxes. It's critical physiological data,
Hmm.
stuff that tells us if an athlete is actually safe to go out there and compete. We're turning clinical steps into, well, usable health knowledge.
Okay, let's kick it off with section 1, the absolute fundamentals. I call it the zeroing game, height and weight.
Sounds simple, doesn't it?
Totally. But like
Yeah.
the accuracy here, it's the bedrock for everything else.
That's a really key point. If your starting data is off even a little bit,
Then what?
well, think about tracking hydration loss or muscle gain later on. If that initial weight wasn't right, none of the comparisons mean anything. They're compromised.
Okay, so let's talk height first. You need like a proper stadiometer, right? Or that drop-down measure thing.
Exactly. And the procedure, it seems fussy, but it's all about getting maximum true height.
So the source material hits 4 key things for that perfect stance. 1, shoes off. Obvious, maybe.
Essential, though. Then, back facing the device, stand straight and tall. Really tall.
And the last one is crucial. Looking straight ahead, no tilting your head up or down.
Yeah, that forward gaze is surprisingly important. Tilting even slightly, it can mess up the reading, especially if the device isn't perfectly level or if they press down too hard instead of just resting it gently on your head.
Right, right. Okay, same level of precision for weight then. What's the absolute first thing that clinician has to do before you even step near the scale?
Zero it. The scale must be zeroed out first.
Okay.
It's not just like a suggestion. It's mandatory prep.
Yep.
If that scale starts at, say, half a pound,
Then that half pound gets added to your weight.
exactly, it gets baked into your baseline and it just throws off everything later.
Okay, makes sense. And what about the athlete's part, that awkward moment where you're taking off your hoodie?
Huh, yeah. You've got to remove any heavy clothing, definitely shoes, and super important, empty your pockets, keys, phone, wallet.
Right, that stuff isn't you.
It's not part of your body mass, so for a true reading, it has to come off.
All right, quick check for you listening then.
Duh.
Let's say the trainer forgets to zero the scale. Or maybe you keep your phone in your pocket. Why is that weight reading kind of unreliable for your record?
Well, simply put, it's not just measuring you anymore. It includes the scale's error or the weight of your phone.
So the number's wrong.
Fundamentally wrong. It messes up tracking any real changes later, like hydration or weight goals. Getting these simple first steps right, that's the foundation.
Okay, crystal clear. Foundation set. Now let's check the engine pressure, section 2, blood pressure,
Right, the BP check.
which is basically the pressure your blood puts on your artery walls as your heart does its thing.
And we measure that using what's called a sphygmomanometer, the Cuffin gauge. The reading comes out in MAXG millimeters of mercury.
And the key thing is, it's always 2 numbers, right? Systolic over diastolic.
Correct. 2 different pressures capturing 2 different moments in the heart cycle.
Can you break those down real quick? Systolic first, top number.
Systolic is the peak pressure. It's the force when your heart muscle contracts when it's actively squeezing blood out into your arteries.
Okay, the pushing pressure.
Yeah.
And diastolic, the bottom number.
That's the pressure that remains in the arteries when your heart relaxes between beats, when it's refilling with blood, sort of the baseline or resting pressure in the system.
Got it. Now, before they even pump up the cuff, the setup is apparently super important. Why does your position matter so much?
Because any kind of muscle tension or even just like how you're sitting can affect your cardiovascular system. It can change the reading.
So what's the ideal setup?
You need to be seated, relaxed, legs uncrossed. That's a big one.
Why uncrossed?
Crossing your legs can actually slightly increase your blood pressure, and your arms should be supported roughly at heart level, resting by your side, not dangling, not held up.
Okay. And what about the cuff itself? The source is really specific about using the right size.
Oh, absolutely critical. If that cuff is too small for your arm,
What happens?
it squeezes too hard in one area, basically. It gives
Okay.
you a falsely high reading. You might look like you have high blood pressure when you actually
And
don't.
too big.
The opposite problem. It might not compress the artery properly, leading to a falsely low reading. So you need the right size, snug but not tight, and placed correctly about an inch, inch and a half above the bend in your elbow, right over the main artery there, the brachial artery.
Okay, cuff on, positioned right. Now the actual measurement, they inflate it, usually pretty high, like 200 milliliters.
Yeah, high enough to temporarily stop the blood flow in that artery. Then comes the crucial part, the slow, controlled deflation.
And they're listening with a stethoscope.
Exactly. Listening for specific sounds called carotid cough sounds. The very first sound you hear as the pressure drops, it's usually like a clear tapping beat, and you see the needle on the gauge kind of bounce.
Yeah.
That exact point, that's your systolic pressure, the top number. It means the pressure in the cuff now matches the peak pressure from your heart.
Okay, first sound, systolic. Got it. How do they find the bottom number, the diastolic? Do the sounds change?
They do. As they keep deflating the cuff slowly, the sounds might get a bit softer, maybe muffled. Then eventually, they just disappear altogether.
Ah, the point where you hear the last clear, distinct beat just before silence. That's your diastolic pressure, the bottom number. The silence means the cuff pressure is now below your artery's resting pressure.
So it's really about listening carefully for that first beat and that last strong beat.
Precisely. First beat for systolic, last beat before silence for diastolic.
All right, so let's talk numbers. What are the key ranges people should know from the sources?
Okay, so generally normal is considered around 120 over 80 millimilli Hg.
Wait, 280, the classic number.
Right. We start getting concerned about hypertension or high blood pressure if the reading is consistently 140 over 90 millimilli Hg or higher.
And low blood pressure, hypotension.
That's typically flagged around 100 over 60 millimilli Hg or lower. For athletes, these numbers are really watched closely. Extremes can signal underlying issues that might be risky during intense activity. Makes total sense. Okay, pressure checked. Let's move on to the engine speed. Section 3, pulse, the heart's rhythm.
Yep, your heart rate, measured in BPM beats per minute.
Pretty straightforward. Pulse equals heart rate.
Fundamentally, yes. And when healthcare staff check it manually, they usually use one of two main spots.
Where?
The carotid artery, which is on the side of your neck. That one's easy to find and strong, so it's often used in, like, emergency situations.
Okay, and the other one?
The radial artery, which is on your wrist, kind of on the thumb side, that's probably the most common one for routine checks.
Now, lots of us have smartwatches these days, tracking our heart rate 24/7. But the source material still talks about the manual check, right?
Yeah.
Why is that old school way still important for a PPE?
That's a good question. It's still often seen as the clinical gold standard for a couple of reasons. When you feel the pulse manually,
Yeah.
you're not just counting the rate. You can also feel the rhythm. Is it regular or irregular? And the quality, is it strong, weak, bounding? A machine just gives you a number. A manual check gives more information.
Ah, okay, so it's about more than just the number of beats.
Exactly. The quality tells you something, too.
And the technique is simple enough.
Oh, yeah. You just use the tips of your index and middle fingers, your second and third fingers. Gently press over the pulse site. Never use your thumb, by the way, because it has its own pulse.
Good tip. Then what?
You just count the number of beats you feel in 15 seconds, and you multiply that number by 4.
And that gives you beats per minute.
That's it. Simple calculation. But, you know, we should acknowledge the tech, too. Digital blood pressure cuffs almost always give a pulse reading now. And pulse oximeters, those little fingertip devices.
Yeah, they give pulse and oxygen levels.
Right. They're standard tools now. Definitely convenient and usually accurate for rate.
So what's the ballpark for a normal pulse rate for someone generally healthy?
For adults, the normal resting range is typically 60 to 100 beats per minute.
60 to 100. What about the extremes?
If your resting heart rate is consistently over 100 BPM, that's called tachycardia, high pulse. If it's consistently under 60 BPM, that's bradycardia, low pulse.
Is bradycardia always bad? I hear some athletes have really low heart rates.
That's true. Very fit endurance athletes often have resting heart rates below 60, sometimes even in the 40s, and it's perfectly normal for them because their heart is so efficient. But for the average person, or if it drops too low, it definitely warrants a closer look.
Okay, good distinction. Right, let's shift gears to the one that always feels like a pop quiz. Section 4. The vision check. The Snellen eye chart.
Ah, yes, the classic eye chart with the big E at the top.
Exactly. What's its main job in the PPE?
Its purpose is pretty specific: to measure the clarity of your distance vision. Basically, it screens for common issues like nearsightedness, myopia, where far away things are blurry, or just general visual acuity problems.
And the setup for this test, according to our sources, is like super precise. It has to be exactly 10 feet away.
Well, historically it was 20 feet, but 10 feet is common in many clinical settings now. It's just easier logistically in smaller rooms. The key is that the distance is standardized, whether it's 10 or 20 feet, so the results are comparable.
Okay, standardized distance. Then what?
The person being tested covers one eye gently without putting pressure on the eyeball because that can temporarily blur vision.
All right.
And then they just read the letters out loud, starting from the larger lines and moving down to the smaller ones.
Until they can't anymore? Or is there a specific rule?
There's a rule. They stop reading when they get to a line where they miss at least half the letters. So if a line has 6 letters and they miss 3 or more, that's the line where they stop.
Okay, 50% errors or more, you stop. Now, here's the part I think confuses people. Recording the score, like 2040 or 2020, the source says the first number is always 20 if you're 10 feet away.
Okay, this is a great point to clarify. Even if you're tested at 10 feet, the result is usually recorded as if it were 20 feet using standardized conversions based on the letter sizes. So yes, that first number in the score, the numerator, is effectively always representing the standard testing distance, which is 20 feet.
Ah, okay, so 20 represents the standard distance. What about the second number, the bottom one?
That second number, the denominator, that's the important one for your actual vision. It corresponds to the smallest line on the chart that you were able to read correctly, meaning you got at least half the letters right on that line. Each line has a number associated with it, like 40, 30, 20, 15.
So if the last line I could read reasonably well was the line labeled 40, my vision is recorded as 2040. What does that actually mean?
It means that you need to be standing at 20 feet to clearly see something that a person with standard normal vision could see clearly from 40 feet away.
Okay, so my vision is like half as sharp as standard for distance.
Pretty much, yes.
Yep.
20/20 is considered the standard baseline for normal visual acuity if you score 20/50.
That's better than normal.
Exactly. You can see clearly at 20 feet what someone with standard vision would have to move closer to 15 feet to see just as clearly.
That explanation makes it way clearer than just hearing the numbers. And for an athlete, I mean, sharp vision seems pretty non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Think about tracking a baseball, seeing teammates downfield, reacting to an opponent's move. Clear vision is fundamental to performance and safety in almost every sport.
For sure. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. The 5 key vitals from the PPE: height, weight, blood pressure, pulse, and visual acuity.
Yeah.
We sort of leveled up our understanding by digging into the proper methods behind them.
Right. And the real takeaway isn't just memorizing the normal numbers like 60, 100 BPM. It's about understanding how those numbers are obtained reliably.
Yeah.
You know, the source material mentions these checks are often done in stations during a big PPE event. When you understand the method yourself, like you know exactly where the BP cuff should go, or, you know, to wait for that very last strong beat before the silence. It changes how you think about your own results when someone else measures you. You can recognize if the procedure was done correctly. It gives you way more confidence in whether that number, your baseline data, is actually accurate.
So you become a more informed patient, basically.
Exactly. And establishing that reliable baseline, knowing it was done right, that's step 1 for tracking your health, optimizing performance, and just making sure you're safe to compete. It really is a powerful form of self-knowledge, being ready for whatever challenges come your way.
So maybe the provocative thought for you, the listener, is this. Next time you get these vitals checked, don't just focus on the numbers themselves. Think about how they were measured. Was the process solid?
Because knowing the process, understanding the why behind it, that's where the real power lies in understanding your own health.